The World Cup was born in a wounded world. In 1930, the planet was still bleeding from the scars of the First World War. Europe struggled to rebuild amid economic crises, national resentments, and political instability. Football, already igniting popular passions, was beginning to be seen not only as a sport, but as a symbol of national identity and an instrument of power. It was within this tense scenario that FIFA decided to create something never seen before: an international tournament between national teams, independent from the Olympic Games, to determine who was truly the best team in the world. The idea came from Jules Rimet, FIFA's president, an idealist, but also a strategist. Rimet believed football could unite nations, even in times of hatred. Convincing countries, however, was not easy. Many officials saw the project as risky, expensive, and impractical. Still, in 1928, FIFA officially announced there would be a World Cup. The next challenge was choosing the host nation. Uruguay's selection was not accidental. The small South American country was living its golden age. Olympic champion in 1924 and 1928, it dominated world football. Moreover, in 1930, Uruguay would celebrate the centenary of its first constitution. The government promised to cover all expenses for the participating delegations and to build the largest stadium in the world. It was a political, sporting, and symbolic move. Uruguay wanted to show the planet that it was more than a small nation. It was a power. But the invitation was met with resistance. Europe was facing a deep economic crisis. Traveling to South America meant weeks aboard ships, high costs, and unknown risks. England, Germany, Italy, and Spain simply refused. In the end, only 4 European teams accepted the challenge: France, Belgium, Yugoslavia, and Romania. They all traveled together on the same ship, crossing the Atlantic with players training on the deck, improvising exercises as the sea rocked beneath them. In total, 30 national teams took part in the first World Cup. 7 from South America, 4 from Europe, and 2 from North America. There were no qualifying rounds, no seeded teams, no draw as we know it today. The tournament was assembled in haste, with improvised regulations and decisions often made by authority rather than consensus. Uruguay rushed to build the Estadio Centenario in record time. Workers labored day and night. Even so, heavy rains delayed construction, and the opening matches were played in smaller stadiums. The Centenario was only completed days after the tournament had already begun, a concrete colossus erected as a monument to national pride. The inaugural match in World Cup history was France versus Mexico. Few people know that the first goal in World Cup history was scored by France's Lucien Laurent in the 19th minute. There was no grand ceremony, no massive crowd singing anthems, just a partially filled stadium and players still trying to grasp the importance of what they were experiencing. The group stage already showed signs of chaos. Referees, for the most part, had little international experience. Yellow and red cards did not exist. Expulsions were decided through discussion, often through shouting. VAR was unimaginable. What mattered was the referee's word, and frequently, the pressure of the crowd. Uruguay's group was a clear example. Playing at home, the national team faced Romania and Peru. They won both matches, but not without controversy. The match against Peru was particularly tense, marked by violent tackles and constant protests. The refereeing favored the hosts, and the opponents knew it. Meanwhile, Argentina advanced with authority, led by Guillermo Stable, the tournament's top scorer. The Argentine team looked unstoppable. Stable was not a starter at the beginning of the World Cup. He only played because a teammate was injured. From that moment on, he scored goal after goal, becoming the most feared player of the competition. Brazil, notably, had a disappointing campaign, divided by internal conflicts between football federations from Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo. The country sent a weakened squad. Brazil lost to Yugoslavia in its opening match and defeated Bolivia, being eliminated in the group stage. The Brazilian football dominance that would later define the sport was still far from reality. The semifinals were a harsh reality check. Argentina crushed the United States 6-1. Uruguay did the same to Yugoslavia. The script was written. The first World Cup final would be contested by 2 historic rivals, separated not only by a river, but by deep political, cultural, and sporting rivalry. Uruguay and Argentina did not clash only on the pitch. The two nations competed for regional influence, national identity, and continental leadership. The final, scheduled for July 30th, 1930, was treated as a matter of state. Police escorts accompanied the Argentine delegation. Uruguayan supporters promised retaliation. Tensions were so high that the appointed referee, Belgian official John Langenis, demanded life insurance before agreeing to officiate the match. There was yet another controversy. The ball, each team wanted to play with its own ball. FIFA had no standardization at the time. The solution was absurd and historic. The first half would be played with the Argentine ball, the second half with the Uruguayan one, a detail that would change the match. The Estadio Centenario welcomed more than 90,000 spectators. The city came to a halt. Sirens sounded, factories closed, an entire nation watched. Across the river, in Buenos Aires, crowds followed the match by radio. Intense silence. Argentina started stronger with a lighter, faster ball. They took a 2-1 lead in the first half. Stable scored once again. Argentine supporters celebrated as if the title were already secured, but halftime changed everything. With the heavier Uruguayan ball, the game turned. Uruguay imposed physical strength, relentless pressure, and forced Argentina onto the defensive. They equalized, took the lead, and scored 2 more goals. The final score, 4-2. When the referee blew the final whistle, the stadium erupted. Uruguay were the first World Cup champions. In Montevideo, a national holiday was declared. In Buenos Aires, there was mourning. Uruguayan embassies were attacked. The rivalry deepened. Football had proven, once and for all, that it was more than a game. It was identity, pride, and conflict. Jules Rimet personally handed the trophy to the Uruguayan captain. A small, modest cup, unaware that it would become the most coveted object in world football. That World Cup lacked glamour, but it possessed something far greater, a beginning. The 1930 World Cup was chaotic, improvised, and unequal, but it was real, raw, human, marked by mistakes, passion, violence, and brilliance. It was there that football ceased to be merely a game between nations and became a global stage for disputes, dreams, and tragedies. And it all began there, in a wounded world, inside a concrete stadium, with a ball that was not the same for everyone,